Have you ever been in a relationship with someone who, deep down, you knew felt remorse for their actions, but could never seem to actually apologize? It's an unsettling feeling, isn't it? On one hand, they hurt you, but on the other, you sense that if their pride didn't get in the way, they might say the words you desperately need to hear. This internal battle within the narcissist, a daily struggle between the desire to apologize and the need to protect their fragile ego, creates a toxic dynamic that's both frustrating and heartbreaking for anyone involved. Every day, the narcissist feels like apologizing, but their ego stops them, trapping them in a cycle of pride and emotional immaturity. You've probably noticed it, the inconsistency between their actions and their feelings. They may show signs of remorse, but their ego won't let them fully admit that they were wrong. This paradox is one of the most confusing aspects of dealing with a narcissist. You know they've hurt you, but somehow, the apology never comes, leaving you stuck in emotional limbo. In today's video, we're going to explore the psychology behind this behavior. Why do narcissists, despite feeling regret, refuse to apologize? What is it about their ego that makes it impossible for them to say those two simple words, "I'm sorry"? More importantly, what does this mean for you and your relationship with them? We'll take a deep dive into the mind of a narcissist and uncover the reasons behind their resistance to vulnerability and accountability. By the end of this discussion, you'll have a clearer understanding of why narcissists behave the way they do and how you can protect yourself from their emotional games. So, before we jump in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share it with anyone who might benefit from understanding the dynamics of narcissism and how to cope with narcissistic behaviors. Now let's get started and unravel this complicated, often painful, but incredibly important topic. Why do narcissists feel the urge to apologize every day, but never actually do it? This confusing and frustrating behavior can be perplexing, especially when they appear to be aware of their wrongdoings. However, understanding some key psychological factors can help shed light on why this pattern of behavior is so common among narcissists. Let's delve into the reasons behind this phenomenon, exploring how it relates to their fragile sense of self and their distorted view of the world around them. At the heart of the narcissist's inability to apologize is their deeply fragile self-image. On the surface, they may come across as overly confident, grandiose, and even superior to others, but this persona masks a core insecurity. Narcissists rely heavily on an inflated sense of self-worth to protect them from feelings of inadequacy, shame, or guilt. In essence, their entire self-esteem is built on an illusion, and admitting fault would directly challenge that illusion. Apologizing means admitting imperfection, and for a narcissist, this is a painful and intolerable blow to their ego. To maintain their fragile self-image, they avoid taking responsibility for their actions at all costs. While most people can embrace vulnerability and accept responsibility as part of their emotional growth, the narcissist cannot bear the risk of exposing their perceived weakness. Instead, they remain locked in their defensive stance, unable to engage in the humility required for a sincere apology. Another reason narcissists struggle to apologize lies in their sense of entitlement. From their perspective, they often believe they are deserving of special treatment and are inherently superior to others. They see themselves as being above reproach and view apologies as unnecessary. To apologize would require them to acknowledge that they've wronged someone, and that's something they simply cannot do. In their minds, they are never the ones who need to make amends. Instead, they will often shift the blame onto others, portraying themselves as victims or misunderstood heroes. In this distorted worldview, narcissists believe that others are at fault for misunderstanding their intentions or overreacting to their behavior. This inability to see themselves as fallible prevents them from taking responsibility for their actions, and the act of apologizing becomes an impossibility because it would undermine their sense of superiority. They would rather maintain the belief that they are always right, and that others are the ones in the wrong, even when their behavior clearly indicates otherwise. Additionally, narcissists frequently rely on manipulation and gaslighting as tools to maintain control in their relationships. Rather than apologizing or taking responsibility for their actions, they use these tactics to shift the blame onto you. Gaslighting, in particular, involves making you question your own perceptions, emotions, and reality, thereby creating confusion and doubt. When a narcissist employs gaslighting, they are essentially deflecting any accountability for their behavior. Instead of acknowledging their mistakes, they distort the situation to make you feel as though you are the one who is at fault. This manipulation allows them to avoid the discomfort of facing their own shortcomings, while simultaneously protecting their fragile sense of control. By turning the tables and making you question your feelings or intentions, the narcissist never has to confront their own mistakes or vulnerabilities. Instead, they maintain the upper hand in the relationship, manipulating the narrative to their advantage and ensuring that they are never the one to apologize. This constant shifting of blame keeps them in a position of power as they continue to shape the dynamic in a way that allows them to evade accountability. Ultimately, the narcissist's refusal to apologize stems from a complex web of insecurities, entitlement, and manipulation. Their fragile self-esteem prevents them from acknowledging their mistakes, while their distorted sense of superiority leads them to believe they are never in the wrong. Moreover, their reliance on manipulation and gaslighting allows them to maintain control over their relationships without ever having to confront their own flaws. This combination of factors creates a situation where, even though a narcissist may feel the internal urge to apologize, they are unable or unwilling to do so. Understanding these dynamics is key to navigating relationships with narcissists and recognizing that their failure to apologize is not a reflection of your worth or actions, but rather a deep-seated issue within them. The narcissist's deep-rooted fear of abandonment is a critical factor in their refusal to apologize. Beneath their outward display of arrogance and self-assurance, narcissists carry a profound, often unconscious fear of being rejected or abandoned. This fear is so powerful that it influences nearly every aspect of their behavior, especially when it comes to admitting any wrongdoing. To apologize means showing vulnerability, and for the narcissist, vulnerability is synonymous with weakness. They fear that if they apologize, you might interpret it as a sign that they are not perfect, or worse, that you might use their admission of fault against them, possibly using it as a reason to leave the relationship altogether. The very idea of being abandoned or losing their source of narcissistic supply, which often comes from you, drives them to avoid making an apology at all costs. Their fear of abandonment isn't simply about losing someone. It's about losing the admiration, attention, and validation that they thrive on. Narcissists need constant external validation to feel good about themselves. They often view their relationships as sources of supply, and the fear of losing that supply if they show weakness or admit fault is overwhelming. This fear can be so strong that it prevents them from taking the necessary steps to repair or mend the relationship, even when they know that an apology could help restore things. Instead, they may convince themselves that apologizing would make them even more vulnerable to your criticism, making them feel even more unsafe and exposed. They are trapped in a cycle of self-preservation, where maintaining the illusion of invulnerability and control feels like the only way to protect themselves from the terrifying prospect of being abandoned or rejected. Even though the narcissist may experience an internal pull toward offering an apology, this impulse is usually outweighed by their need to protect their fragile ego. Instead of admitting they were wrong or apologizing, they will find elaborate ways to justify their actions. They will create complex and distorted narratives in their minds about how they were right and how you misinterpreted everything that happened. In their minds, they are the victim or the misunderstood hero, and their actions are justified. They twist reality to fit their needs, rationalizing their behavior and convincing themselves that they don't owe anyone an apology. This self-deception is not just a coping mechanism. It's a powerful defense that allows them to protect their ego while avoiding any form of accountability. Their ability to spin these mental narratives keeps them from confronting the emotional discomfort that comes with acknowledging their faults. What makes this even more complex is the fact that, despite their internal struggle, a narcissist is unlikely to ever apologize in a meaningful way. Their inability to apologize is not merely an issue of pride or stubbornness. It's a deeper resistance to engaging in real emotional growth. To apologize would require them to confront their flaws, their vulnerabilities, and the reality that they are not perfect. For the narcissist, this is simply too much to ask. Admitting that they were wrong would shatter their carefully constructed self-image and force them to deal with feelings of shame and inadequacy that they have spent their entire lives trying to avoid. It's much easier for them to continue the cycle of denial, self-deception, and justification than to face the emotional truth of their actions. This avoidance of responsibility and emotional growth is what makes it so difficult for a narcissist to ever truly change. The refusal to apologize creates a significant barrier in any relationship with a narcissist. It leaves the other person feeling hurt, misunderstood, and unappreciated, as their needs for validation and acknowledgement are consistently ignored. For those who are on the receiving end of this behavior, it can be incredibly frustrating and painful. You may find yourself repeatedly waiting for an apology that will never come, hoping that one day the narcissist will come to their senses and recognize their mistakes. The truth, however, is that this hope is likely to be unfulfilled. Narcissists are rarely willing or able to change, and expecting an apology from them is a fruitless exercise. No matter how much you might yearn for recognition of your hurt or an admission of wrong, you are unlikely to receive it. So, what does this mean for you if you find yourself dealing with a narcissist? The most important lesson here is to stop waiting for an apology that is unlikely to ever materialize. Holding on to hope that the narcissist will one day take responsibility for their actions is a setup for disappointment and emotional exhaustion. Instead of investing your energy in expecting something that is never going to happen, it's crucial to focus on your own healing and emotional well-being. Take the time to set boundaries that protect you from further harm. It's essential to acknowledge that you may never receive the apology or accountability that you deserve, and that accepting this reality is key to moving forward. By shifting your focus away from their inability to apologize and focusing on your own self-care, you can free yourself from the emotional entanglements that keep you stuck in a cycle of unmet expectations. Thank you for taking the time to explore the complex dynamics of narcissistic behavior with us today. It's not easy to understand the inner workings of a narcissist, especially when it comes to their refusal to apologize. But now that you have a clearer picture of why this happens, you can begin to recognize these patterns in your own relationships and take steps to protect yourself. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with others who may benefit from this information. Remember, you deserve respect, accountability, and emotional honesty in your relationships. Don't settle for anything less. Stay strong, trust yourself, and always prioritize your emotional health. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.